Welcome, everyone. This is Mariusz Skonieczny. I am sitting down with Ofer, Vicus, the CEO of Aduro. Ofer, thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Mariusz.
I'm looking at some of the press releases that Aduro had since April. You had you closed a private placement. You had an announcement about a TV show. You hired an investor relation firm. You went to Europe to set up a new subsidiary. So I think there's quite a few things to talk about. Which one do you want to start with to give us an update?
And you left the elephant in the room, the status of the R2, I guess.
Of course, that's right. That's right.
All of this is waiting for. So yeah, we've been very, very busy all over the place. And this is part, Mariusz, of our general strategy, for expansion. We told everyone that we are doing our best to create the appropriate awareness. That is with respect to the new IR company, and our attention is to do that. And so we have some plans around the work that we should do, both in Europe and in the United States. And the goal is, of course, to show that there is another company that is doing, something in this environment. And so it's over the last few weeks, we've been busy planning and creating and preparing material. And some of this material you see, and some of this material is still in the making. There are videos that we're creating that at some point of time will come out. There's a new website that we're hoping to launch in a few weeks. There's quite a few things that I think will boost up our level of awareness cross-border. You may know that yesterday there was a bit of some articles that came on National Post about Aduro. And so we've been, this is part of what we told investors. We're just busy doing what we told investors that we will do. And IR is part of it, of course.
Talking about R2.
Yeah.
So you finished the R2. I know you had it in a different location. You were working on finishing up the lab to move it to the lab. Where are you in this process?
Yeah, so we have, I know there was expectations that we will publish material already a month ago, but we've been extremely busy commissioning the unit. We worked days and nights to prepare an alternative site because we had issues getting on time the previous site. So we had a few issues that we have to solve into the moment of where we can commission the unit. And then from that point, we hired 5 more operation guys. So we basically brought in another team only dedicated to the operation of the R2. And we have trained them, and they're part of the Aduro team, and I welcome them to the Aduro team, and I know them all now by heart, and we're working shoulder to shoulder with the R&D team, which is fantastic. And that has to integrate and come in. And then the real job has come, and which was the finalizing of the commission of the R2. We're doing it, and we are nearly done. I can't say we're done. We're running polymers into the reactor, but it's not yet there yet. So we are waiting. I know the team is waiting for the news of what is happening with the system that we have commissioned. And we want to come to the audience with meaningful data. So we don't want to come to the audience, we just run polymers and look what we're having and what we see. We want to come with meaningful data. So this is why really right now at this point there is a little bit of more of a silence. The team is working through the commissioning phase. They are running some material. They are solving and troubleshooting. And at some point of time, we'll come with the news where we will start producing data. Data from R2 is critical for our future. We know it. I want to assure everyone that we don't see any reason to think that nothing happens in this reactor inside, in the chemistry. We validated many, many times. And every time that we touch this process, we validate it again and again. So there's no ambiguity. Right now, what we're doing is just making sure that the whole system is singing in the same, I'll say, rhythm, and that we can produce material to our satisfaction from which point we could think, as we intend to, of how to move it to the next level. So this is a work in progress that we just want to stay a little bit more silent until we are having meaningful information and material to show to the public. But at this point of time, I just want to make everyone assured that this is what we've been doing. There's no really significant issue that we see. There's no really significant item that we're overcoming, that we need to overcome. It's just a day in and day out until we complete and commission the unit and run it as to our satisfaction, basically.
Are you running anything for potential engagement or clients?
Not yet. At this point of time, it is internally for us. Well, we'll leave a little bit the information about client engagement later. It is at this point of time for our understanding. This is, again, for us, although it's a unit we've done before, an R2 for Bitumen. This is basically completely new system. So everything that we're doing is fairly new for us. So we're not doing yet for customers. We do have several engagements that are waiting for this, and we are very much aware of that. I can say that, we are moving forward. If you're talking about clients, we're moving forward fairly good with our phase gate with Shell. And we are in discussion with Shell and hoping that they will let us issue some press release with some updates on, because we're halfway through, throughout the process. But until I get a full permission from them, we cannot release any information apart from the fact that we're moving, through the stage gates, and we're now halfway there, basically. So this is all work in progress. And I think, loyal to our messaging, we just want to come with meaningful data and not with the nonsensical, we just run this, we run that, here's what we're doing. So I think that, hold on, we will get there and we will show the audience what we have.
When you say that you are halfway there with Shell, from what I understand, you had 6 phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does it mean you completed 3 of them by saying that halfway there?
Yeah, we're nearly, I think this is the 3rd phase, but I have to, again, in order to give any update of those phases and what we've been doing, we have asked Shell to allow us to publish an update report. In the next few weeks, we will sit down with Shell and see what we can publish, and at that point, we will release information to everyone so they would know where we are. There is also, I take really serious note about what investors tell us, and from what I received, there was really an interest to hear some update on all other projects. And so we're preparing what we call a CEO update, and where we list several projects that we've been doing and going, and we will release that information as well very, very soon. So the hope is to keep the investors really participate and involved in what we're doing. And this is, we've been doing it for the last 2 or 3 years on the same way. We just want to continue that type of behavior.
On the work with Shell, will you be recognizing and collecting any revenue from this?
So again, I have to refer you to the press release. There is a payment, of course, but I can't talk any further for that. Like you understand that we just want to be very, very respectful to Shell. We don't want to cross any boundaries. But it is within our plan, the way we envision it, and we're very happy with it. We're extremely actually happy with whatever goes on with Shell.
Yesterday, you had a press release about establishing a subsidiary in the Netherlands. Can you talk about this? Why you did this? Why it might
Yes. Yeah. So this is part of it's really important step for us. We've been contemplating this activity for the last 1.5 years. If you remember, when we talked about Aduro, we talked about hubs that will come out and be active one way or the other locally. Our engagement with Brightland 2 years ago was in stages, and the first stage was an introductory The second stage was that where we were working through a project, and recently we came up with this Chill partnership. It's just part of the Brightlands community. They're doing some research for us that is involving or related to an avenue of commercial interest that I think could shorten our commercialization in general. So very exciting for us. And what we realized recently, and this is with the work we've been doing in Brightland and with Brightland, is that there is a way for us to continue and develop our, I'll say, pilot or demonstration unit in Europe, where we could take advantage of local resources. Local resources means local team that will work with us or work for us. We're just starting the hiring process, and we've been doing it for the last month and a half. So there is intention there. You can see beyond the company already. So the company was actually second to work that we've been doing there. And there is grants, relevant grants that we can take advantage when we're talking about a demo unit. The stuff that we're doing now is for years ahead, but we had to plant the seeds. And then there are partnerships that we're looking at and contemplating, all with the intention to build a demonstration unit at Brightland, which Brightland, I remind everyone, the intention to work with Brightland, the initial intention is to demonstrate that the hydrochemolytic process can operate on really material that is harder to other processes to process, and that is otherwise is really harder to recycle. Mainly material that is rejected from other processes. And so we're targeting a certain value of material, we're targeting a certain complexity of material, and we're working in Canada to understand it. On the other hand, we're working outside Canada, such as in Brightland, to prepare the grants so when we will be ready, we will be able to aggregate the right partners and move on with the building of that unit. So it's just like we did before, just putting the milestones or the building blocks on a way. And again, the same as we told investors. We told investors we're going to expand. We told investors that we will have outreach, beyond Canada as an international company, and this is part of it. And we do it on a very, very careful consideration of the budget, so we don't go crazy with it. It's a full focus and full task ad hoc project that we need to do in order to achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
Talking about the budget. So after the press release came out, I saw some concerns from some people saying that, their burn rate is going to double from 300,000 a month to 600,000. Can you comment on that?
For what? When was the
by expanding to Netherlands, that you're going to double your costs? That was a concern that I saw, and I wanted you to address it.
Yeah, no, I don't think we will double. There's a little bit of cost when you hire more people, but it's everything that we've been doing now is really planned. So there's nothing there that is surprise or sporadic. And so, no, there's no intention to double the burn rate, of course. So far, we're behaving. In order to talk, I think, on the future, maybe we should talk on the past. And I encourage investors to look how we managed the money in the past. And I'm kudos for Mina, our CFO, who's just, proactively looking forward and looking backwards. I think we're fairly in very, very good hands. Like anyone who wants to listen and talk about the way we are managing money, I think it's worthy also to look at the people that are managing the money. And Mina is a CFO, is a very successful CFO, being there, out there, seeing a lot of things and understanding both part of the envelope, both the operation and the investment. And so I work with him very, very closely and how we plan our money. And I think if we want to speak about the future, we have to give credit for ourselves for what we've been doing in the past. If you look at the financial report in the past, I think there is a really good balance of how we manage our money. It's still a young company. It's still with risk. It's still with lots of desires, lots of potential, lots of visions. But it takes really careful, measured steps to move forward. And I think if I need to take anything out of it, is that we continue to move forward. We continue to do it in a way that is controlled, but there are certain things that we want to achieve, and we told it to investors, so there's no surprise there. Yeah.
When you say that you will build a demonstration unit in Netherlands, do you mean R2, R3, or something else?
So this is really a good point, and I just want to. I think we internally had talked about R2, and then R2 has become something that the investors understood. So what is R2? For us, R2 was simply a reactor system where we are passing material, and we're learning from that reactor systems what can be done when we're planning for a pilot or a demonstration unit. It's not, we're still in this phase of course, working on R2 and generating data and understanding how to employ R2. But in the future, I think we will start talking about systems. So not a reactor. I mean, the Aduro process is combined of several stages, and what we envision is a system, is a process, not just a reactor. And R2 was just been catched up as the update, by investors, and that's okay. I mean, it's full fine. But in the near future, we'll come up with some terms to simplify the discussions about where we are. And in this discussion, I can already give heads up to the investors. We will speak about systems. So I personally vision that beyond what we call reactor 2, which is simply a reactor with an extruder, some cooling environment, and a way to test different parameters so that we could build and design and think about how we want to manage our process. For the next level, we will start speaking about actual systems, and we will give them the appropriate name. And so the investors will understand where we are and what is that we're doing. As for the demonstration unit that we're talking about with Brightline, so if you remember, there were two or three. There is high configurability to the system. Okay, to our process, there is high configurability. We mentioned that we can work with a single type of polymer. We mentioned that we can work with a mixture type of polymer, and then we mentioned we see a really good way to work with the mixture material that is rejected by other processes, and it's really hard material to work with, and this is what we're targeting to do. So in each level, basically you're framing a certain conceptual design. And so what we intend and what always Brightline wanted to see on site was a process that is doing a really material that is otherwise harder to recycle. So rejected material maybe from other processes, mechanical process, and we see really good evidence that we can do good with it. However, just remember that we could also do simplified processes that will work in smaller scales, or maybe a single type of polymer or dual type of polymer. And so that work is probably going to happen more in Canada in that sense. But our intention is to address both areas basically, because, and we told that to the investors, there is high rate of configurability that we can apply to the system. And so rather than us going and fighting on the same feedstock with next best companies, we mentioned that we want to collaborate with them, if you remember, Mariusz. So what does it mean collaborating? It means that, not taking whatever they have, but taking whatever they rejected. And that's was our intention from the beginning. But I also mentioned that we have this capability to work in a business-to-business environment where we see some type of waste that should not leave the plant, that we should build a smaller scale process to answer to that. And so that material should not leave the plant outside. but already move outside the plant, the doors of the plant, as higher value product, and that is also in our mind. But for us to do this, this is what we've been doing. That's the combination that we've been doing, both in the lab and the operation in Sarnia, and that knowledge will be transferred later to the environment in the Netherlands.
Well, thanks for this update. For the final thoughts, we are halfway through the year. What could investors expect from Aduro for the remainder of the year?
More of the same, much more of the same. So you mentioned in the last 4 months, we have completed our raise. We have engaged with the IR companies to create awareness. We are building a new entity. We open a new subsidiary, and we hire teams. So think of the activity that cross-border we did as a company. We are putting our focus and our attention on execution. We're putting our attention on execution on the experiments and the process that we are completing now in the lab. We need it because we, of course, want to go with this data to the appropriate government grants, and they are available out there and they know us, but we can't name them until we are winning them. And so we have to do a lot of work to get that. We have a lot of work in terms of execution to demonstrate what we can do and capable to do to customer engagement. And we mentioned that we have in customer engagement, and they also are waiting to see where we are. And so we are, the investors should, I guess, expect news about us engaging customers. And we are moving, as I mentioned, towards the pilot. So I just think execution. This year is all about whatever we told investors this is what we stand by. So we stand by bringing more brands into our shop and working with more brands, and start thinking about our next level pilot unit, basically.
Okay, well, great. Thank you for joining us and giving us this update.
Mariusz, thank you very much for having me.